Do you ever feel like you're capable of so much more than what you're currently doing?
I know that you have goals, dreams, hopes, plans, yet it always feels like you're missing that special something in order to be able to actually achieve it. So buy it now, today at a discounted price.
So, if you feel like you're stuck, then this video is for you. Because I think I've figured out what that special something that we're all missing is.
Picture this.
You're lost in the bush. You don't know which way to go. You're told that waiting where you are is the best option. Which, admittedly, is true in this situation. But unfortunately, it's not true anywhere else. Because no one is coming to save you.
Hello?
Unfortunately, you need to save yourself. What on earth are you doing? Waiting? People always look to the new year, the winter arc, the graduation, the breakup, as an opportunity to start fresh. But there's not a given point in time where things start to change. Life is constantly changing. Events are stepping stones, not beginnings. The change you really want occurs when you decide to commit to something, to anything. So you plan. You try to work out what you know and what the best option is. But you're unsure. You feel like you're doing something, but you just go round and round in circles. It seems obvious that there's only one way to get out of this situation. You need to pick a direction and start walking. You need to execute. You need to take action. Whenever I go hiking, I always look ahead and it seems like such a long way. But at the end of the day, when I reach my destination, I'm shocked when I turn around. Where I had started seems impossibly far away, yet all I had done was keep on putting one foot in front of the other. Your dreams, which seem insurmountable, lie on the other side of consistently making tiny steps. When you keep actioning things, you set things in motion. Once you have motion, it's easier to keep the ball rolling. The barrier to entry is high, but once you're over, it's easy. But I know what you're going to say. What about the barrier? The barrier breaks down when you start chipping away at it. Eventually, it's low enough that you can climb over. It doesn't break down when you keep running at it and trying to jump over it with no momentum. If you take action and do so consistently, you will always achieve what you want, or at least some version of it. Even if it doesn't turn out to be what you'd thought, you'll be somewhere different to where you started. The pain of doing nothing will always be worse than the pain of doing something. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. It's true. So just look at the smallest thing that you can do. Do that once. Then keep on doing it over and over again. It'll take you further than you could ever have imagined.
And just in case you haven't quite figured it out at this point, special something is simply doing something. The secret sauce is action. Continual action.
And with action, you'll be at the top of the mountain before you know it. Hello and welcome to my humble abode, aka the New Zealand bush, hence the birds you'll be hearing in the background. But I just wanted to sit down and have a little chat, because if you've made it this far in the video, I'm guessing the message I shared or the way that I've put it together has been beneficial to you in some way, I hope. This year has been really big for me, and even though I haven't achieved a lot of the things I definitely still want to, I've also done a huge amount, and it really does all just go back to this one idea of genuinely taking action. And to be fair, the only reason I probably haven't achieved some of the things I wanted is because I lacked the consistency, which I think is, action is the cake and consistency is, the icing on top. But I think that this idea is really important, particularly in your 20s, because there's so many options out there nowadays that there's this thing called decision fatigue, which is a very real thing. But there's also this idea that when you pick one thing, all other paths suddenly close off to you. and then rather than taking action, you decide to remain in this sort of state of indecision. And that is really, really, really detrimental, speaking from personal experience. The biggest thing I have learnt this year though is that it is always better to be doing something than to be doing nothing, and also that planning to do something is not doing something. Like, yes, planning is beneficial to a degree, but myself included, I know so many people who get stuck in the planning stage because it feels like you're doing something, but no one in history is known for the things that they thought about doing. They're only known for the things that they actually ended up doing and executing and taking action on. And I've always wondered how some people manage to fit so much into their lives and others just amble along, and I've definitely had periods of ambling, I will be honest. But to me, once you start walking, it's easier to keep walking and you get better at walking. But I think just the thing I want to stress is that even if you're not 110% sure about doing something, it's not something you think you're going to be doing for the rest of your life, or you're unsure about it, do something. You don't have to pick something and commit to it for the rest of your life. And people commit years of their lives to doing a certain thing and then do something different and walk away from it all the time. It doesn't mean that the time they spent doing that was less valuable, because it still developed them as a person. But if you spend years not doing anything and not going after anything, you don't have a basis for anything to change your mind on. Let's just say you're reading a novel, and there's probably always going to be a few chapters where it's a little bit slow, but even if the novel starts out with a particular aspect, setting or theme in mind, it doesn't disengage you if the character changes or decides to follow a completely new path, theme, idea, life, passion, etc. You get the idea. But you will put down that book if just chapter after chapter the protagonist isn't doing anything, and the world's just going by without them, and they're not following or doing anything. The same can be said for your life, and there are always periods of stagnation. And this is not me saying that it's not okay to have a few chapters where not much happens, or maybe you're going through some stuff, because I've definitely had quite a few chapters like that. But I think the thing I'm stressing is that at some point you need to be doing a bit more as the protagonist of your own story, or otherwise when you get to the end of the novel and you're reading it back through, if you're disengaged and disinterested in the novel of your own life, I think that's one of the worst things that you could ever have to go through or think about. So I guess here's to writing a good story, and I will see you in the next one.